Good afternoon, everyone. Today is October 26, 2023. This is a City of Prescott City Council, what was originally posted as an executive session meeting, and it's no longer that. It's an open public meeting. So if you are referencing the agenda, some of the conditions of an executive session no longer apply. So this will be an open public meeting. And I do want to say that I considered reposting this meeting, but I think it's very appropriate that the discussions we're going to have today occur today. And I'll make a couple of opening statements to explain that. So we'll start off with a roll call.
Mayor Good.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Montoya.
I am here.
Councilwoman Cantelmi.
Here.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Rusing.
Here.
Councilman Sishka.
Here.
And Councilman Tenney.
Yes, ma'am.
All are present.
So as I said at the beginning, this was originally posted as an executive session, but it has been changed to a public meeting as per the request by our city manager, referencing Arizona Revised Statutes 38-433.03. So I'll ask the city attorney to read that section of our revised statutes so you can understand why this change has been made.
Sure, Mayor. In this section, talking about the different reasons for which executive sessions can be held in 38-431.03A1 states, discussion or consideration of employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, demotion, dismissal, salaries, discipline, or resignation of a public officer, appointee, or employee of any public body, except that, with the exception of salary discussions, an officer, appointee, or employee may demand that the discussion or consideration occur at a public meeting. The public body shall provide the officer, appointee, or employee with written notice of the executive session as is appropriate, but not less than 24 hours for the officer, appointee, or employee to determine whether the discussion or consideration should occur at a public meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Young. The reason I called this meeting was to clarify a number of issues regarding employment and termination issues that impact city management and the city council's authority to establish policy and review of city management in this area. As was stated by our city manager in Tuesday's study session, our airport director, Dr. Robin Sabata, is no longer employed by the city. The decision to end Dr. Sabata's employment was made between the end of our executive session at about noon on Tuesday and the start of the study session that began at 1 p.m. This was an enormous surprise to me, and I assume the rest of the council, but we're not here today to second guess this decision, nor to discuss the performance of the city manager. But since we have a charter amendment on the current ballot for the November 7th election, that changes the city manager's employment termination conditions. This meeting is necessary, in my opinion, to clarify some of those concerns. So the goals of today's public meeting are to review the current city charter, specifically Article 3, Section 6, review the city charter amendments that are on the city ballot, Proposition 469, and then to clarify some definitions, including what is cause, because both of those issues reference termination for cause or for out cause, and what is at-will employment. So I'll start by reading Article 3, Section 6 of our current city charter. This section references removal of city manager. The council may suspend or remove the city manager by a majority vote of all the members for cause. The council may further suspend or remove the city manager without cause upon the vote of 5 of the 7 council members. Within 5 days of the date of any removal for cause, the city manager may request a public meeting. Said meeting shall be held not later than 10 days from the date of said request. The cause for terminating the city manager must be stated and recorded in the minutes at the same time the action is taken. And at the conclusion of the public meeting, the council must either affirm or rescind their earlier vote. So that's what it's in our current city charter. So that's what applies now. The proposed amendment on the ballot is Proposition 469, and it's referencing deleting Article 3, Section 6, entitled, quote, Removal of City Manager, and deleting this article in its entirety and amending Article 3, Section 1. So a yes vote on this proposed charter would have the effect of removing Article 3, Section 6 in its entirety and updating Article 3, Section 1 to clarify the language and state that the city manager shall serve at the pleasure of the council, period. So there is no reference to cause, and it removes the 4 versus 5 vote needed and removes the post-vote public hearing option. So I think it's important that our discussions here talk about that, since there's many people who've already voted and there's many who have yet to vote. So I think it's important that we discuss this issue and clarify, for example, what is cause, because the current city charter is currently in effect. So I'll ask the city attorney to discuss cause, how it's defined or not defined, and how the city council can determine cause.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to briefly answer your question as to what is cause, I prepared a brief memo, and I think that's been provided to you. But in a brief way of answering it, cause is what council determines cause is. Now, to be more specific, it's not defined either in our charter or specifically in any statute, but it is dealt with in case law. And it's a first glance that it's what council decides it is, but it has to be an action that's not arbitrary and not capricious. In additional case law, there's reference to cause as being defined as some substantial shortcoming which renders the employee's continuance in office in some way detrimental to the discipline and efficiency of the service in which the law and sound public opinion recognizes good cause for his or her no longer holding the position. So in brief, cause is something that relates to a deficiency in the ability to carry out the duties of that person's office, whether inefficiency, incompetency, or, as the case law states, some other kindred disqualification. And I can address that. I know that that's somewhat broad, but that's the definition as the law gives us as it relates to cause.
Well, as I said, I think it's important that we kind of clarify this whole issue for the benefit of the voters in the city, since they're going to be voting on whether they support Proposition 469 or not. As I said, I could have chosen to repost this meeting as a open public meeting so the entire community would know it's available for them to attend and possibly make comments on the issue. But if we were to do that, then more days would pass while people are trying to decide how they're going to vote. So I felt it was important to have this meeting set up and made available to the public. So since it is a public meeting, I intend to allow public comment, and I want to make sure that we keep this focused on this issue. We're not here to review the entire performance of the city manager. It's just that a public statement that was made in Tuesday's public meeting prior to the beginning of our study session, or during the study session, made this issue rather immediate. So again, I said we're not going to be taking a vote today. We're going to discuss this issue and clarify it as much as we can. And hopefully that will help the voters decide what their decision will be on this particular proposition. So that's where we stand. Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. It is not infrequent when we have a meeting of the mayor and council that a particular council member will be off topic. And I want to go on the record that I think we're off topic. I'm reading the agenda, and the agenda says discussion or consideration of employment of the city manager. We're not talking about ballot issues. We're talking about the city manager. And why was this meeting called? It wasn't to discuss the proposition on the ballot. It was called to discuss the employment of the city manager.
And everything that I've mentioned so far directly relates to the city manager's status and any decisions that were made that were announced in public. So that will be how we proceed, and it is relevant to how the session was publicly noticed.
I still feel we're off topic.
Duly noted. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor, if we're here to discuss a ballot measure where people have already voted on it, I think we're wasting time not only of the people up here, including myself, but also city staff that are here as well. If this is the nature of the topic, I would suggest that we take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Well, that makes it even more difficult for the voters who have yet to cast their ballot to be able to understand what Proposition 469 would mean.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Hearing no second to the motion,
No, I said I'd like to make a motion. You didn't recognize me to make the motion. I wasn't making my motion yet. I was asking to make a motion. And I'll make it now. My motion is to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Sorry, hold on. I have to put it in the system. Councilmember Rusing, can you vote, please? Passes 4-3.
Well, I apologize to all of you that have come here to listen to this meeting and its topics, but apparently there's been a misunderstanding for exactly what the details of this meeting posting was, and the fact that it changed from an executive meeting to a open public meeting. And I was hoping we might be able to have some input and public comment, but that motion has passed, and this meeting is adjourned.